Yo, you heard that mustard? Pray for
No, I
me.
ain't heard him. I ain't heard him much. We're alive, brother. Yo, 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 yo. It's the
Hey, what up?
yo, yeah. You starting the questions off early, bro. What's
Hey,
good?
I knew it was gonna come, Kanye. I knew I was gonna see you again.
I knew it. Yo, this is Ron. That's Vay. We are here. Another episode of Around the Culture. Today is a OGs are back outside today, man. I saw something pop up on my feed last night. LL dropped a new song called Passion in a video.
Yeah.
So we got that. Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace,
hmm
Coup de Grace, or whatever it's called. That's out. So yeah, people, the OGs are outside, man. But we're here to talk about what the thumbnail is showing you, what the description is telling you, what I consider, I was going to put together a montage, Vay, of what I've been saying over the last 4 to 5 months about how I thought this album was going to be the album of the year. And I wanted to have my people give me my flowers today and tell me, Ron, you were right. You predicted this. I had some haters saying I was on the tape because, Pete's my guy, and we met and we did a great interview with Mickey Fax. But it is what it is, man. The Auditorium Vol.1, I would say right now to date, is the album of the year. And let me explain to you why. For one, the album feels like a love letter to hip hop. If you listen to it, it sounds almost classical. It sounds like Pete Rock, from his samples to what he came to it from a production perspective, came with a lot of passion, pause, and it came with a lot of love to the culture. Um, I mean, you look at Wise Up, you look at even the song that they didn't put on the album, Trying. You talk about Dreaming, Sunshine. One of the records that I liked on the album, I'm just gonna pull up the track listing real quick. Um, it started off with Dreaming, right? And then we had Chi-Town Do It. Now, Chi-Town Do It was one that I like. It's one of my favorite, cuts on the album. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. And then we got I like the one with Jennifer Hudson, The God There Is. So from top to bottom, I thought the album was it was refreshing. It was a refreshing take to hip hop. It was almost like Common, from a lyrical perspective, from a bar perspective, was looking at this as like a love letter to hip hop. It's more of like I think of it like a sequel to B, almost the way they approached the album. But it's good to see the OGs outside being celebrated. They won a Tonight Show. I think CBS Morning, ABC, all the mainstream media outlets have been picking up on this. We were like the first to tell y'all, and I'm gonna put that montage together for folks that don't know. We were the first to tell y'all that this was gonna be dope, man, and it lived up to the hype, man. I think it's a solid album. It's really good, and it's really it's an album that you can play in your car. It's an album you can play outside. It's an album that you can just sit back and kind of vibe to, And Vay's back. Vay, we lost you for a minute. That New York internet is tripping, B.
So we're gonna have a drinking game. We just gotta take a shot every time I have Wi-Fi problems. So happy Friday, y'all. You're welcome.
Hey, yo, y'all hit like and subscribe, and y'all super chat us so we can give Vay a new internet connection because this internet this
Oh
internet
man,
yo,
it's
so let's go back to the track listing, Vay, because I was
crazy.
while you were out, I was telling folks that man, I got caught up on Chi-Town Do It. I mean, he's kind of talking that talk, and like a female or whatever. But I'm gonna do a lyrical breakdown in a minute. But
Yeah, yeah.
what else was good? Wise Up, This Man was dope. I mean, it's just if we're going on source scale, I would say 5.5 easy, man. 5.5 easy.
Mm,
It's
mm.
not. I mean, hell. And then maybe it's gonna take me a
Wow,
couple of days. And I talked to my guy IL this morning. He might jump on a little bit
love it,
later.
love it.
To kind of give you to kind of sit with the album for a couple of days. I don't want to have a knee jerk reaction, but I think the album is dope. What say you, Vay?
Um. Oh man. I'll let you do if you want to talk about like lyrics and stuff, because I was mostly with the first couple listens. I was really taking in like the flow. His flow. I was taking in the production. On a personal level, I needed this album. I needed this album. I love what he's talking about. I love just the subject matter. We were talking a while back about like clean hip hop and how I miss clean hip hop, and I wouldn't necessarily consider this clean, but this is it's positive in a way that it just feels good. It feels good, but it's not corny. It's not on no corny shit, but it just, you know what I mean? It just really, it feels like these two brothers are just having fun in the studio, man. And personally, I'm very intentional about what I ingest, not only food, but also artistically. And so with this album, I was really, like, I'm always impressed with Common. You know, I'm a huge Common fan, but to me, I really felt like Pete Rock really shined on this album, man. He like masterfully consistent and cohesive top to bottom, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult to make new music for artists who have been around for as long as both of these artists have been around. It's hard to do it because you're trying to find a way to make something for them that we haven't heard from them, and or at least in a way that we haven't heard them say it. And man, Pete Rock was in his bag, bro, because this is sonically, it's not too much a departure from what we know Common to do. Like, it's soulful, the tempos are pretty much in the same pocket, but what he's able to pull from just with the feel of it, like this whole album is a vibe, but he did it in a way that every song obviously doesn't sound the same. God, I can't say enough. Like, it's very sophisticated. To me, I felt like Pete Rock did such a great job of tapping into the different eras of Common that we know and love, but did it in a way that puts his Pete Rock stamp on it. So, like, to me, Fortunate, for example, Fortunate puts me in Dreamer Believer vibes. Like, I feel like he was in his Dreamer Believer bag. All kinds of ideas. That puts me into like Water for Chocolate vibes, like easy. Stellar. Oh man, Stellar. I feel like Stellar put me into B vibes. Stellar was definitely he put me in the B vibes, and it could be like the flow too, but I can't say enough. And When the Sun Shines put me, I don't know if you've ever listened to Pete Rock's instrumental album, Return of the SP1200.
I've skimmed through it, but I haven't sat down and really just took it all in.
Yeah, the rapper in me was like, oh, I love instrumental albums, and the rapper in me is like, yeah, this is something to freestyle to, something to rap to. And When the Sun Shines feels like he was pulling from that bag. I just can't say enough about the masterful production that Pete Rock did, man. Like, it's just top to bottom, it's crazy. I feel like my favorite joints, Chi-Town Do It, This Man, Fortunate, We're on Our Way, Stellar, All Kinds of Ideas. Those are probably the ones that I went back to immediately. And you know, I not that I'm surprised at how well he complements Common. I'm not surprised, but it really felt, it gave me Nas Hit Boy vibes, just in terms, like, it felt like there was nobody else around. It was just two dudes in the studio cooking, and they're keeping each other.
We are on this podcast. We cooking right now. We cooking.
Yeah, man.
Just like us, just like us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I'm saying, to your point, it seems like these two people, from what I understand about how the album was made, because we had some insight on the process from my guy Amir. He was in the studio a lot with them. and from Pete himself saying how the album was coming. Even Common had even said this was one of his best works. Just knowing that they were in the studio vibe, and you can tell when people have a natural chemistry, right?
Right.
When they want to make music together and they're locked in. And if you came from outer space, you wouldn't know that these people. You would think this was a group. You know, he sounded like I was. It sounded like I was in a time machine, especially on Chi-Town. Was it Chi-Town City? What's that song called? The
Chi-Town
second
Do It. Chi-Town Do It.
Chi-Town Do It. And he's rapping. You know, he's going in and he's talking about, you know, how she's kind of like you. I used to love her, and how Kanye did. I met this girl when I was 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? Homecoming, right? He's talking about, you know, Chi-Town. It's like a love letter to Chicago. And I actually had to, when I was going through the album, the first listen, I actually stopped and repeated it. You know, I was on the time clock. I stopped. I said, let me go back and I went back to Dreaming, and then I went to that. And another record that I liked on the album was the one with Jennifer Hudson, A God. A God did. What was that? Yeah, God, there is.
Yeah.
And it was just a dope album, top to bottom. Like, again, my guy AL says we need to sit on it and wait. But from all the albums that I heard this year, as I predicted, I'm gonna put that montage together, by the way, so you guys can see that I said this a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, hell, damn near even 4 months ago, that this could be album of the year. It's the best hip hop album I've heard all year, hands down. I mean, Rhapsody was dope, but this is the best hip hop album I've heard in 2024. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We had a super chat. Mile 07 with the super chat says this album is an instant classic after the first listen, like I knew it would be before it dropped. See, Mile, we
yes. Hold on, but no. He's cooking. He's cooking right here. Love the scratching. Yes, the scratching, man. Yes, I'm glad he said that, man. The scratching. Sorry, I did not to cut you off.
No. That's a perfect segue, because I know you want to kind of elaborate on that. Like, I even like the scratching. I want you to cook up on that, but the scratching and the way he kind of transitions out from song to song, like the outro, those samples, those loops that he does at the end. That's like a song in itself, right? And I want to dig in the crates and hit him, be like, well, what is that? You know what I'm saying? I want to hear a full song with that. You know?
Yeah. Well, and like he does that because I used to like that's. Partly why I love, not partly, that's also why I love They Reminisce, because there's that loop, that dun 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 dun, dun that little intro before.
Right.
You know, somebody should sample that, by the way. You're welcome. If there's a producer out there, somebody sample it.
Why don't you do it?
I just might. But that is definitely something that is a signature Pete Rock-ism that I love. I love that he does that. It just speaks to his sense of musicality. You can tell, you can always hear the jazz influence in his work. And then of course, I like the scratching. You know, it's obviously we just want to keep it hip hop, but I just thought that it wasn't too overused. But then when he did it, it was done in such a way that was just, just added, it added to the vibe. And because one of the things that I was curious about with this album was similar to like how I feel about Premier's album, any album produced by Premier, someone who relies heavily on scratch sample or scratched hooks, how we switch it up. And there was no, that was not even a question. And I think that the samples that were used, they used a couple Rakim samples. I love the Kanye, the Chi-Town, we're gonna show them how we get down. I love that.
Right. They did All Falls Down too on one. They did All Falls Down on
no, that was the one. Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I can't say enough about it. It's just it feels really good. And I think with Common, the thing with Common is it's gonna sound like a backhanded compliment, but I'm gonna bring it around because I'm a huge Common fan. Like I met the dude last year and he's just as nice a person in person that he is on record. And so I don't want it to sound like I'm like digging at him because I'm not. You know, Common, he has a very particular flow. He has a very distinct flow. And I like to say that he kind of is like the king of like the one syllable flow. And like I saw a video of like Mickey Fax being like, "We done with one syllables. We done with one syllables," from a lyricism standpoint. However, I think Common is so fucking like even if you want to say he adopts the one syllable sort of flow and it's simple, you can say that, but where he makes up for it and what he's such a master at is the poetic devices that he incorporates, and I think that it's hard to do that. Like we're talking like you know, just the wordplay. I'm trying to I'm thinking about like the wordplay, the antithesis, the idea, the use of antithesis, the concepts, of course, the imagery that he invokes. I think that say what you want about his flow, because sometimes I do want the flow to evolve a little bit more than it does. However, that's nitpicky. And at the end of the day, he does so much with the work he does as a poet in his writing. I don't care.
Yeah,
You
I
know what
was
I
going to
mean?
say the same thing. I was going to say he raps in a very poetic way, and I don't
Mhm.
care. I'm not really counting syllables. I'm just hearing him just express himself on these records,
Yes.
and it's just dope. I don't want to hear any, you know, double entendres or multisyllabic patterns or flows. I just want to hear that, and that wouldn't be him. You know what I'm saying? That's not
That
him.
wouldn't be
He's
him.
just
Yeah.
he's a poet, man. Let's get to the super chat real quick. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, on my third spin, excellent album, very cohesive, nothing sounds out of place. This is the reason why I love when MCs work with one producer for the entirety of a project. Real MCs still exist.
Yeah.
I second that, man. I
Yeah.
second that.
Yeah.
I like it when producers work, you know, they pick a producer, a Hit Boy Nas run, or you look at what Kanye did with Common back in the day for B, or you
Yeah.
look at what No ID did from Resurrection with Common. He's like the master of working with a producer end
Hmm.
to end and coming out with some of the best work, right? He's done it with No
Yeah.
ID. He's done it with Kanye,
Dilla.
obviously. He's done it with
Dilla.
Dilla, done it
Yeah.
with Dilla. He's done it with Pete Rock. And again, like I said, this took me back in time in a good way. It doesn't sound like they were trying to put us in a time capsule. It just sounds like the music they would have made in the 90s. And
Yeah.
it just came out. It's like an unreleased album, right? It's
Yeah.
2024, and they opened the vault, and Pete, you know, and Common just unleashed something they made 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's refreshing. We got somebody in the comments. I don't think he likes us too much, Vay. He's hurt. He doesn't like us too much, but he says, you know, hip hop is in a bad space when people are praising mediocrity as classic. But I would ask you, sir, what do you think is good, or what do you think is classic?
Yeah.
So just let us know, man.
Everybody, yeah, everybody. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. Yeah, I am curious, just so I can get on the same. We can get on the same page. Like, what if this is mediocrity? What do you consider? Like, give me like 4 or 5 albums that you sort of consider to be top tier, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, and just so we just set the show, we haven't said. I mean, people in the chat have said it's classic. We, at According to Hip Hop, have not given it the classic seal yet, because I'm of the mind, and Vay, you might be of the mind too. You gotta let things sit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can't
Yeah,
just say we gotta let it. We gotta let it marinate. We gotta let it marinate. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you cooking a dish, and you got some meat. You gotta put it overnight in the fridge. Let the seasonings on and everything just soak into the meat. You know, that sounds really crazy.
yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, we got to edit that out. Right? We gotta edit that. We gotta edit that out. You know,
Oh,
we
you
live.
wow, bro.
Normally we do our shows pre-recorded, and I got time to take out crazy things like that. But anyway, what I was trying to say is we gotta let it breathe for a little bit.
Yeah.
We gotta let it breathe. But from the initial listen, the initial 2 or 3 listens, I think it's solid, and I don't think I've heard. I think Samurai was a dope project from Lupe. You got Rhapsody, but again, I can't think of anything else that would probably be in the conversation of album of the year so far. So far.
Let me ask you something. Where does this project, and of course we got to let it simmer, but off first listen, where do you think this album fits within Common's discography?
I would say
I personally think he has one of the best discographies and catalogs in the genre, by the
way. I would say it's definitely top 5, easy. So it's a top 5
it's top tier.
Top 5, and maybe we're nestling on the top 3 territory. I don't know if this album, I mean, hearing it now for the first or second time, it took me back to when I first heard B. I gotta give it some time, Vay, but I think it's top 5. It's top 5 Common album. Easy. I can definitively say that right now without question. It's a top 5 Common album. And I would say after some time we were inching in the top 3 would be with like Water for Chocolate, Resurrection. Yeah. We're approaching that territory.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, because of the production. I think we cannot sleep on what Pete did. I hear him in the background. Like he's actually uncredited. Well, he rapped on all kind of ideas. But I hear him in the background on the ad-libs. Like he's a vocal participant in the making of the album, the scratching, the outros. I mean, he's like a composer. Like I was telling my guy IL this morning when he called, I was like, he's like a conductor. He's like, this is his opus, his orchestra. And he's just in the background, and you can just tell as a musician what Pete Rock is doing. He's layering it up, and I think, and it just is what it is, man. He's one of the best hip hop producers or producers of music of all time, and I would have to say this is encroaching top 3 territory for Common.
Yeah, I do think, and I mean I said this earlier, Pete Rock shines on this album, and just it's hard to do what he's doing on this album, just in terms of if you're looking at big picture, like when you're approaching the album and we're just looking at the big picture first on the macro level, how we want the album to sound and how we're going to get from point A to point Z in a way that feels cohesive. It's all in the samples you pick. It's all in the tempos you go with. Yes, a lot of it has to do with the content as well, as long as the content makes sense. But sonically, it's not an easy task. And I don't want that to get lost on people that's listening to it because they make it seem easy. They're supposed to. They're professionals and they're masters at what they do. But make no mistake, it's hard. It's hard on the production end. And what I would have loved to be a fly on the wall just in the studio session, because I also get the sense, and I got the sense with Nas and Hit Boy as well. I get the sense that Pete Rock was also challenging Common to step his flow game up. Common was doing things just flow wise. Like he pretty much stays in his thing, but I can tell like it's still like it's tighter. There's something about it's still Common's flow, but it was tight. And I attribute that to the producer. I think that it's the producer's job to listen to what you're doing over and say, okay, that's it. That's not it. Hey, can this word land on the snare a little bit more? Can you make me do this? There's a way that you can write your rap that dictates how you nod to the beat. You can write a rap in a way that makes you do this. You can write your rap in a way that makes you go. You know what I'm saying? And it's just all in how you flow. And I get the sense that Pete Rock understands that part as well as a producer and challenge Common, um, just in terms of the flow. The content, Common's content will always be there. But I think what I heard Common doing flow wise is some of the most consistent work he's done.
Right, right. Let me ask you this. Out of all the producers that, I mean, I know let's take this album out of the equation right now. Well, no, let's not, because it's so current. How could we not? And we've had a month to kind of think about it. Well, you know, when Trying came out, then Wise Up, then Fortunate, then all kind of ideas. I guess you would probably off the top, people would say No ID. Who do you think Common has the most musical chemistry with so far?
Kanye.
Kanye.
Kanye. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Kanye,
Right.
Kanye and Dilla. I mean, because like Water for Chocolate is my favorite Common album.
Okay.
But if someone says B, I'm not mad at that. You know, like I think like Water for Chocolate was Common at his peak to me, rapper wise. Not to say that B, you know, he fell off, but I just think that Common was just, he was on some other shit, you know, on like Water for Chocolate. But yeah, and you know, that was Dilla's project for the most part. So yeah, I would say either Common, or sorry, I would say either Ye or Dilla, but Pete Rock just said, "Hold on, wait a minute." Pete Rock said, "Wait a minute before you say that."
Right. Like, I got something to say. About this argument. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says this is evidence that working in the studio together makes a huge difference sonically. No email verses. I mean, we had this conversation last week when we went live. It's a difference, man. You can tell when somebody's emailing beats or putting them on a zip drive, and then you sitting in the studio and making an album, like kind of like Ninth Wonder does with Little Brother. You know,
right.
Probably what Dre did with Snoop in their earlier works.
Yeah.
I mean, that was before even Google, probably. So before even Gmail. So you couldn't even email beats back then. There's probably some secure servers that you could have put beats on back in the day, back in the early 90s. But again, to what Jermaine is saying is that the music comes out differently when you're in a studio with somebody as opposed to and it's just like what I'm like our shows when I come to New York, our shows will be better when we do Around the Culture, when you and I are in the same space doing a podcast. Like, I like remote podcasts and I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit different. You know, some people disagree. I think content is better when we are together collaborating, because you can bounce off the energy. You can be like, we'll tweak there. You know, it's just like sudden movements. We've done shows in the studio, we've done shows remote. And I tend to like the shows, you know, in the confines of production space different, because it's different in front of a computer and looking into the camera as opposed to sitting in the studio space and you got the vinyl on the wall. We can listen to the music, we can talk about it. It's a little bit different. But yeah, to Jermaine Johnson's point, yeah, you gotta it makes a huge difference, man. And as a producer, you know that, Vay. As opposed to like sending you beats or somebody on the MPC on that old school Casio we used to have back in the day, or somebody queuing up Fruity, or somebody queuing up Fruity Loops or something like that. You know, it's a little different. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Hey man, hey man, I mess with Fruity Loops. I mess with FL Studio.
You still do?
Yeah, man. It's not what you use, it's how you use it. It's not what you use, it's how you use it. There are bangers made on Fruity Loops.
Yeah, somebody can take what you just said, snip it up, and do a real big pause moment on that. They couldn't.
I need to relax. You're right.
Yeah, to relax. But yo, let's get back to this the Auditorium Volume 1. I'm excited about this because this tells me that there could be a Volume 2.
Yes.
So we're gonna have another one of these in the not so distant future. I'm looking forward to them going on tour. hopefully we can get an exclusive interview with them on one of their tour dates. We'll pop up on them. But on the source scale, I gave my take earlier, Vay. I said it's right on the initial listen. Again, I got to let it sit for a little bit. I got 4.5 right now. What's your initial thought on the album?
Put me on the spot.
Hey,
I'm
that's
gonna
what
have
we
to
do.
say. Sorry, I'm looking at the track list right now. What'd you give it?
I give it 4.5 right now. 4.5.
Yeah. I'm at a 4.5. I'm at a 4.5. I would say the only moments that I'm cool on, and it's not like these are bad songs, but like I'm cool on Lonesome. Lonesome was fine. I'm not going back to that one. Everything's So Grand is cool. Actually, on Lonesome, I actually wish that on Lonesome he addressed the common stigma as it relates to him and the many women he's dated. I thought that would have been fun to just hear him, because they be like, "Yo, Common be going through him, man."
Well, I think he don't want to mess up his current situation. You know what I mean? So I don't think he want to do
yeah,
that.
and it does seem like what him and Jennifer Hudson have is like something real, and definitely wishing them the best. But yeah, I would say those are probably the ones that I'm cool on. I'm cool on those, but and it's not that they bad records, but I do feel like the home runs for me are like damn near grand slams. Chi-Town Do It is crazy. This man is crazy.
Stellar, crazy.
Stellar is crazy. Fortunate. I texted you about Fortunate just because I do love the Dreamer Believer album. I don't think the Dreamer Believer album is perfect, but I also don't think it gets enough shine. And Fortunate put me in that Dreamer Believer vibe where it was like it just feels good. Yeah.
When the Sun Shines Again is dope too. I was interested they did that one on Jimmy Fallon. I thought that was dope.
Yeah. I'm glad they put my man Positive News on it, man. Giving him some shine, and because that's the thing too, the features are low, which says a lot.
Yeah, it is. The features are low. I know we're running at a time crunch in this lunch hour, man. We got 15 minutes. But again, we're gonna put a nice little bow on it. Shout out to Common, shout out to Pete Rock, shout out to my guy Amir, and shout out to the whole team over there, man. Thank you for giving us a good album to listen to discuss, to talk about, not even trying to dissect it, man. We're just gonna sit back and enjoy it, man. I'm gonna put it in my car with my lady tonight. We're gonna go out on the town and kind of get over some of the obstacles we've been facing in the last few weeks. So we're gonna probably put that and have a nice night, man. Go open a bottle of wine and get it.
But like listen to what you're saying, because I remember I was like, I needed this album, right? For that reason. Like shit is real out here. Adults having to do adult things and having to deal with situations. And that's what music ultimately is supposed to do. And that is such a testament to what this project is, because we obviously feel the same way in that, man, it just feels good. And sometimes and sometimes it's those intangibles, like all the technique shit and even the beat technique, the technical shit on the beats. Like sometimes that shit doesn't matter. How does the shit feel? Like does it feel good? Does it bump? Does it ride? Like sometimes, it's like the eye test with the if you're watching an athlete. Like sometimes you can't measure everything with numbers and technicalities. Sometimes it's just like, yo, how does the shit feel?
Right.
I don't know, but I'm going through it right now, and this shit is really helping.
Right. It's helping, man. It's helping, man. And we're gonna have this conversation for another day. And that's a great point, man. The music just feels good, man. I ain't counting syllables. I ain't doing all alliterated devices. I'm not knocking Leroy because Leroy's thing. There's a space for that. I'm just saying for me personally,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Leroy's our guy, and there's a space for all that. But I'm me
Well,
personally, I'm in a mood right now. I just want to pop open a bottle of wine, look at my kids playing in the yard, think about the shit I've been through for the last few weeks. And that's about it. So I want to have this album as a soundtrack to my 40-year-old life. And that's all I want, man. But we're
yeah,
gonna have a conversation for another day. Where does this move Common up? We're gonna let this album marinate, but we're gonna have a conversation about where does Common fall all the time. But that'll be another show. We've talked about it before, but I think we're just due to talk about it again. But as we segue into the next topic, baby, we're gonna leave. Everyone's waiting for Mike to talk about this. We're gonna leave him some space to talk about it. But we got to talk about the man of the hour, I would say. Or the millennium. I don't know. Some say he's the some people say he's the GOAT. Some people say he's the I don't know, the best of all time. Eminem. Eminem dropped another legend outside today, Vay. Another legend outside. I dropped the death of some shady a coup de grace. What are your initial thoughts on this?
So I'm not even gonna front, man. I have not finished it yet. I've gotten through a good amount of it. I have not finished it. So I can only give my take on what I've listened to, which is like a little over half of it. He's rapping. I do think that and we were texting about I know we was texting about it. I think that there's only so much of complaining about critics and naysayers that I can kind of listen to, and it was kind of my thing with his last album, where I feel like actually his last two albums, if I'm thinking about it, where a lot of it felt like a lot of energy was spent talking about people who are not happy with his art, his work. And to me, I feel like it's how I don't think it's Gen Z. I don't think it's a case of like Gen Z trying to cancel Eminem. I think it's a case of people who are fans of him wishing that he'd evolve a little bit more. At least for me, I just want to see M evolve a little bit more. And I think that his rapping has evolved. Some say for better, some say for worse. His rapping has evolved over the years, but the content, when you're, I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be close to 50.
52.
He's 52. You know what I mean? So like, what are we talking about? And so, for me, and he says, and I can't remember the song that he said this on, but he says something to the extent of somebody rewind the time and take it back to 2003. I'm paraphrasing. He said, take it back to 2003. And it's like, bro, therein lies the problem. It's not 03. It's 2024. What does Eminem look like in 2024, and how have you evolved? And I would say I'm gonna be interested to see Mike's take, because I would guess people would say, well, maybe he doesn't have anything to talk about, and he's rehashing an old idea to get old fans back because he might be limited in his content. I don't know what it is, but we've seen all of our favorite 90s rappers from Common to Jay to Nas. We can rattle some off, and it seems like M is still like he doesn't get it yet. Like we're not. I'm a fan of his first three albums because it was really creative what he was doing, and a lot of it was the content. And though a lot of people say that, well, he's talking about killing his wife and raping his mother, miss me with that. But a lot of the material around that content was really good. 97 Bonnie and Clyde is a really fucking dope song. You know, Guilty Conscience is a really dope song. Brain Damage, really dope song. You know, I can name songs from Marshall Mathers LP. My personal Eminem album is Eminem Show. But the point is, like, why are we 50 years old still making fart jokes? You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's not to say that you have to completely, it's not that you have to completely be a square, but somehow these other rappers that are in your same age bracket have figured out how to evolve not only with the times, but also with their age. And that's, you know, I don't know what that is. And, you know, I might have an unpopular take with that. You know, I might get killed in the comments for saying that, but
Right. No,
I
I
don't,
think people are with you. I think people are with you. I think I came into this album with an open mind. You know, Leroy had said, you know, a lot of people come in with a negative attitude about the music. So I came with a clean slate. I actually had a conversation with my guy IL. Check out his album, IL, the Americans, episode 3. And he was like, M does something different. I mean, you made a point that he's a 52-year-old man making fart jokes and making all this shock rap, but he's a shock rapper. And for whatever genre this falls into, whatever audience this caters to, maybe the critics of that genre or the people that appreciate that type of rap can speak to it better than I can. But going from the Common and Pete Rock album to this, you know, back to back listens, it just wasn't for me. You know, from a energy standpoint, it just wasn't. It just wasn't for me. You know, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. I thought he was rapping well. I thought, you know, for how Eminem raps, but a
oh,
lot of this,
he's rapping his ass off. Like
yeah, but a lot of
that's
the demonic themes and the
yeah,
satanic themes, I'm not really, I'm not really feeling all that, man. That doesn't really do well for my soul, for my listening palate. Is hearing
especially after
songs like,
listening to Common. Shit.
right, like I hear something like Lucifer and an Antichrist and uh
Evil.
evil. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just not in that, I'm not in that brain space. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how to rate it. I got to Houdini and then we had to start cooking up. So I don't know. I've got to listen to the back half of the album and then probably let you know, you kind of let Mike kind of give his assessment. But I just, you know, I see if what he truly wants to do is be a shock rapper and be controversial and make shocking music. Maybe his core fans like that. I think, you know, I heard him, he sampled Ha on one of the records too. What record was he sampled Ha? The Juvenile joint. Yes, Eminem actually sampled Ha on one of these records. I think it might have been Fuel or Fuel or Road Rage, one of the two. Might have been Fuel.
Can
But
I
then
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
go
can I
ahead.
just jump in real quick? Because I also feel like it needs to be said because the narrative around the critiquing of Eminem to me is always also skewed in that people think that when if you're black critiquing Eminem in the way that we critique him, it's because he's white. And I just want to, I feel like that notion has to be shot down, because one, nobody's above critique. We we as everyone as fans of hip hop and fans of the culture and fans of music, we critique every artist the same way, and I
Right.
think that it's not fair. It's not fair to bring that in because there are plenty of white rappers, other white rappers who make consistently great music. They don't have the machine behind them like Eminem does with Interscope, but we can, I can name, Mac Miller, Action Bronson. You can name a few white rappers who are consistent with really solid output. And so it has nothing to do with him being white, and it has nothing to do with downplaying his level of skill. Because listen, like Renegade is one of my favorite verses. Like since I'm in a position to talk to these kids and they listen, I ain't no politician, but I kick it with them a minute, cause see, they call me a menace, and if the shoe fits, I wear it. But if they don't, then y'all will swallow the truth and bear it. Like technically as a rapper, nobody's questioning his level of skill. Absolutely. He raps his ass off, but there's more to being a dope rapper than just the technical shit. You know what I mean? Because if that were the case, where do we put DMX? Where do we put Scarface? You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of other rappers who are top tier who don't rap with the same even vocabulary and use the same rhyme schemes as an M. Where my critique lies is the content. Where my critique lies is what are you talking about? I'm never impressed. I'm actually never impressed by rappers who rap fast, who adopt the fast flow, or known to use like a lot of words. That shit doesn't impress me. That's because that's one sort of skill set. That's like a basketball player where like, they can dunk, but they ain't got no handles. They can't rebound.
Shoot free throws.
They can't shoot free throws. They ain't got a mid range game. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can dunk, but what else can you do? And for me, when I'm listening to rappers, if you're gonna do the fast flow, I should be able to read your lyrics on paper and it should still make sense. For starters, and then two, I'm also like just the content. Like, and my thing with this album, to bring it back to the album, is he spins. I had to cut it off because he spins Renaissance, Habit, Trouble, Brand New Dance, Evil. Like the first 7 songs are about why he's not accepted by Gen Z. You can do that in one song, bro. What else can we talk about? Is my point. And
yeah, and it's just, I guess, back to my original point, the album's just not for us. And maybe there's a contingent of fans that want to hear these grievances toward cancel culture, Gen Z. But maybe that's just his lane. Maybe there's a different type of lane that Eminem exists in that we're beyond. I'm not gonna say beyond, but we're not even a part of. I mean, we put up a post earlier today. He's kind of criticizing people that criticize him, right? Michael thinks it's about him, but Mike thinks everything's about him. Probably not talking about Mike, but he could be talking about Mike. He could be talking about podcasters. He's saying us nerds can figure out. What do you say that we can find something wrong with 36 Chambers or something?
That was a dope line, though. I like that line, and I actually like that first song. I like that first song. He was cooking on that shit. I'm talking about the shit that followed it. It's like, all right.
Right. Like, it's just not for me, man. I'm not gonna listen to a song, I call Lucifer an Antichrist. And I heard one of the brothers, I don't know who was a featured artist, he was talking crazy at one of the end of these records. He was talking about he's gonna do this, and I'm like, I don't want to hear that, man. I mean, I got so much bandwidth in my mind, man. I got to think about positive things. I got kids, man. I got a daughter. I ain't trying to hear that. Like, I'm not trying to hear murder, murder, bang, bang all day. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to hear all that all day. I'm trying to hear something else. And yes, yeah, it's not for me. So maybe I'm not the critic. Michael cook up on it, and then but I have nothing to say to it,
Yeah,
you know.
it was tough listening to, because I remember I was asking you about DJ Mustard's record that he put out, Pray For Me. Like, it's just weird, like, listening to Pray For Me, and like, you know, I like that record. And then listening to Common, and then listening to M. You know what I mean? Is, you know, like, I would rather, and maybe this is just the old man in me talking, and it, to your point, you know, I would rather listen to, you know, somebody speaking life and speaking on a higher vibration than the, you know, the devil, evil, demonic.
Yeah, and people are asking us what I think about the album. I can't give it a rating, really. I mean, for me, I hear him rapping on the album. He's rapping technically in a good way. He's like rapping, and I can appreciate that. You know, the beats. I know he sampled Ha on one of the records. The beats for me. I mean, it's just I'm not the one to rate it. You know, it's not for me. I think there's a critic out there, there's a podcaster out there that can rate it. Will I listen to it again? I'm on the front half of the album. I haven't even made it to the back. I'm at Houdini right now. So I can't even truly give you a rating right now because I haven't heard the whole album yet. But I'm on the front half of it. I'll listen to the rest this afternoon and try to formulate some thoughts. But you know, I ain't got nothing for it, man.
Sure.
But man, so just to recap, we like the Pete in Common, Volume 1, Auditorium. That was dope. Eminem, you know, Vay, you said you want him to evolve. There was some pushback in the audience in the chat that said we shouldn't tell artists what to rap about or what the subject matter should be, but we as fans, we should have expectations to see, and that's for everybody, as podcasters, as basketball players, as people. We expect people to evolve, right? We don't want to.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm telling Eminem. I mean, like, I know the guy, but it's not me telling him what to rap about. You know, like, that's on you as the creative and as the artist to figure that out. But what I'm saying is, you've been rapping about the same thing. It's the same critique we give Pusha T. You know, like, and I love Pusha T. Like, you know, I see nothing wrong with it. But I think as fans of music, we all have, you know, it's okay to want to see an artist evolve, especially if they're almost 30 years deep in the game. I don't think that's asking for much.
No doubt. Like, y'all want to see our podcast evolve, man. So make sure y'all hit like and subscribe. Make sure y'all send those super chats in so we can evolve and do better podcasts and my takes can evolve. You know, when I first started off, y'all were roasting me with my takes, but I see people in the chats. I see people saying, you know, Ron's, you know, the producer of the show, starting to cook a little bit. You know, we hooked it up with Vay. We starting to get it popping. We had one super chat last time, Vay. Now we got 3. So we evolving, man. Let's go, baby. We're gonna get right. Once we get to 10 super chats, we're gonna send that super chat money, get your internet fixed, man, so we can cook up without interruption, man. But hey, yo, the links in the description, man. Go check out the Auditorium Volume 1, Pete Rock and Common Pete Rock, on all your DSPs, streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon. Go check out The Death of Slim Shady. Let us know what you thought. Mike will come and cook tomorrow on the Weekend Rhyme. Leroy will be in the building, and we'll go from there, man. But as always, man, we appreciate you, man. Peace.
Hey, peace.